All right, everybody, thanks for joining us again. Today we have a super special treat. Got a buddy of mine, Mr. Steve Chavez. He is OG Accenture consultant, director of awesomeness, a really accomplished jazz guitar player, sort of a master of many things. And it's a real pleasure to have you here. Today we're going to be talking about first of all, who you are, and then AI, how it's going to really impact small business, particularly get some insights vis-a-vis Accenture and some of the other stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're coming from and where you're about, what you're about, Steve?
Well, yeah, I've been at Accenture for over a decade now, management consulting manager, mostly to public service clients, but some private industry clients, and very interested in AI as it applies to any size of business, but also a practitioner of AI.
Yeah.
I call it, and Bob knows this, I call it the most democratic technology I've ever seen come down the pike, and I'm an old dude, so I've seen everything from the land to whatever. But almost anyone with just a little skill or a little study can leverage AI, either in their personal life or business life. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and it's really amazing, and I've been at it a little while myself. And, we're kind of talking earlier that all of the advancements so far have really occurred through human thought processes and human innovation. And it's just recently, that AI itself is actually fueling these advancements, which means they're happening a whole lot faster. So things that used to take years to happen are now taking months, if not weeks, in terms of the advancements that are occurring. And that's a really interesting dynamic that we haven't seen before. It creates a lot of fear, but it also creates a lot of opportunity, right? And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with you. And so kind of the first question is really in terms of discoverability, right? So we're in this age of search engines, but we're literally at the birth of AI, right? And I like to say AI will never be reborn. This is the point in human history when this thing is starting to evolve and emerge right now. And so there's lots of things that are happening. Lots of folks and businesses have spent a lot of money on traditional search engine optimization, pay-per-click strategies, and those sorts of things to drive human traffic to their website. But all of a sudden, we've got the emergence of a machine-first and AI-first web. It's kind of an invisible web, and it's really kind of mysterious to a lot of people. So the first kind of topic is just visibility, right? How important is it going to be discoverable as these changes are occurring? Because we're kind of right in the middle of the beginning of this new phase, right? So the Google agent-to-agent announcement on April 9 of 2025 kind of signaled the beginning of this new age.
Well, it is a new age. And to back up a little bit, you talk about fear. This can replace your business. This could replace your job if you work for a company. And I think it's natural to have that fear, but you better get over it fast, use it as a motivator, right? Which is the case throughout time, that's how we should treat fear. But in this case, it's rapid.
Yep.
You mentioned at the beginning of your comments the human innovation, human development of things is now being partnered with the AI itself getting into innovation, right?
Yep.
And the scale is just going to move, right? So maybe it's just shooting from the hip, but let's say it's 70% human, 30% AI innovation. I've seen it in my own practice of using AI in my company that's at my company, it's almost at 50-50 already.
Wow.
When we reorg large organizations, we place AI, not only AI bots, which most people are familiar with, but the really the cutting edge AI agents into the organization, right? And in some of our realignments, reorgs, at certain levels, it is 50-50.
Wow.
On the org chart, there is 50% people, 50% AI agents.
Wow.
There already.
Yep.
So in small business, you need to realize that if you're not seen by AI, and we'll get into the specifics of what that means, you will be left behind.
Yep.
Think about it back in the day when you were introduced to search engine optimization, right? You thought, okay, that's cool. How important is that? Well, it turned out to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a new, and I don't mean to make this as a straight analogy, but under AI, it's a new game now again. You have to somehow be seen, right? And a big company, if you work for a big company, same is true. Your current team and you yourself, how are you going to be seen when, if you're like me, I'm using AI inside my company to put things together, to create things. But if your team, your thoughts are impactful to what I'm doing, how am I going to see that? Or how are you going to let me see that, right? So whether big business, individual, or small business, it's all about being seen.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding on how AI works and kind of how the brain of an AI or a large language model actually works, right? So let's talk about that here for a quick second. It uses like what we call structured data. So what is that? That's not your website. AI does not want to come and click around your site. It's confusing and messy to a machine. The website is not built for machine consumption. It's built for human consumption. So you can interpret a lot through a visual layout, through a logo and a color palette and different visual presentation styles. You can deliver a lot of brand messaging.
Absolutely.
The AI, is really not set up to do that. It instead is set up to answer questions. And so that's really the difference. It's all the information about your business, but it's restructured in a whole nother format and delivered in a whole nother way. And so that's really kind of where we're at, right, is this evolutionary period where we've got AI answer engines, or really search assistants like Google AI Overview or Bing Copilot it's got its foot in today, and that it's part of an actual search engine, but it's AI. So it's looking for this structured content, number one, right, changing the actual content on your website, which we call, right, AEO, or answer engine optimization. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there's what's called AIO, AI optimization, which is really just creating a sitemap for AI that has a lot more information. Now, these two things make it so the AI technology of today can discover you. So that's kind of thing one. Thing two is, in the future, it's not enough just to have a website with structured information. You need an actual AI agent that can do tasks, right? So the question really is like right now, as these things are happening, how important is it to small business to be discoverable, to understand these things, right? And to adopt the strategies that they can adopt today while, really kind of understanding the impact of what's coming.
And I don't think small business understands the importance and the necessity to get on board right now, right? Yep. Everybody probably figures out that, hey, most people are using AI, and we talked about this before the cameras were rolling, for search, because that's what they're used to doing. But in the very near future, the individual is not only going to want to search for the product or service, it wants to have somehow very quickly with AI, out of these options, which one is the one that's right for me? And then out of these options, purchase it for me.
Right. Exactly.
So that's way beyond, I need to search for this service or product. No. I need to search for it. Then I need to evaluate it, decide on the one that's, I told my AI agent what's important to me. So here, this is the one you should buy, and then actually buy it.
Yes.
Right. So the speed of the...
We'll buy it, confirm the purchase, send the tracking information, text,
tell me when I got it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the whole thing, right?
The whole thing.
So that's way beyond search. And if you don't understand that, and did you coin the phrase, Bob? Because in my job, I should have heard the AI economy, and I haven't. So maybe you
really?
coined this. Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Tonight, I'm going to search all of Accenture to see if anyone ever wrote the words AI economy in a white paper.
If not, then add me in there, would you?
But because that's what's coming. That's the sea wave change.
Exactly.
That's how you're going to transact the business.
Right.
You're not going to have someone find your AC service, decide that you're reputable and whatever, then schedule an appointment and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No, you're going to have AI find all that, schedule the appointment, put it on your calendar, their calendar, and tell you when I'm arriving in the next 15 minutes.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's kind of the thing is everybody has a personal AI agent. It comes pre-installed on every device. Every mobile phone has a agent installed on it, Alexa, Siri, so on and so forth, right? So what we're really talking about is the counterpart for businesses, right? So the buy side has got an agent today that wants to transact, right? And so the sell side needs to have an agent. So really the future of this, where it's going, like we're talking about, is right now it's about discoverability, being quoted by these answer engines, right? Because it drives traffic. It's at the top of the search engine on Google and Bing, and it backlinks in traffic, and it gives you authority. But the future is the agent-to-agent, the Google protocol, that allows not only the LLMs like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and whatnot to discover and interact with your actionable, task-oriented AI agent, but ultimately, it's so individual, independent AI agents can go around the web and interact business directly, completely bypassing the LLMs and the personal agents, right? They have instructions. They're supposed to go do things, and they go do them. And businesses, in terms of the back office, right? So making sure inventory is available and that shipping is on time and all of your logistics and product management things are happening. All of it is interconnected, and that's really what A2A signals. Now, here's my question: what about this new reality that we're moving, this new landscape that is rapidly forming under our feet as we sit here? Yeah. Okay, what excites you about that, and then what also concerns you about that level of dependence on AI, and that level of invisibility to humans in terms of actually what's kind of going on behind the scenes?
Well, I don't know if this is a concern, but if it becomes that easy to transact business at a small scale or a large scale, for an individual, would it be like, running their credit card up kind of thing? It's so easy. You just have these agents. Well, here's an example. My refrigerator orders its own water filter when it knows it needs it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had no control. My credit card was dinged for the $26 or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know how to term it, but there's some kind of concern about the automated movement of the money, right? Mm-hmm. And did you really approve it, or is it happening more often than your budget allows, speaking from an individual, but also speaking from a business? You're ordering raw material, or you're ordering technology, and eventually the AI agents are monitoring everything and saying, "Oh, you need this." Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. So the caution is we have to have guardrails on this kind of thing, because it's one thing to click a button and have something ordered and delivered and invoiced and paid for. But in the future, we're not even going to want the burden of pushing the button. AI, you just decide when all this happens, right? So the concern about automated stuff is you got to put guardrails on it, right? The promise, though, is the increase in business, if you're talking about a small business owner, but this gets us back to the visibility thing. How are you going to be visible? So this whole automated, you were booked and put on the calendar and you went out there and fixed their plumbing, all automatic, right? How are you going to be visible enough to make that happen?
Yeah. Well, that's definitely stage one. And then stage two, I think, right, is as businesses start to become more and more dependent upon these systems, how do the humans establish trust in this invisible web, and then all of these systems that are happening, so kind of what you were talking about dovetails into this next question. Is it really boils down to, do I trust the system to handle all of this stuff for me, or do I not? And kind of how is that reconciled? And how can AI systems like this instill trust?
Well, what popped in my mind was a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about the trust equation. We were talking about people, right? So, and it's weird. We're talking about AI like it's people.
Yeah.
Well, the other day I was in...
Man, people are using AI for therapy and stuff. So
of course.
Yeah.
Well, I'll use this as an example. I created an AI agent to create certain documents that we need for clients. And I ran it. Worked perfectly. Then I adjusted it, ran it, and a certain section of the document, the AI agent was instructed to present that content in a table, a very specific layout. All it did was list it in an outline. So here's my point about, we talk about AI as like people. This is actually what I prompted. Let's try this again. In section 2.2, that content was supposed to be presented in a table. Please regenerate as previously instructed.
Yes.
So it's like I'm talking to some new young employee. Hey, man, you screwed this up. So to get to your point, when we become dependent, I'm already dependent.
Yeah. Here's where kind of where I'm getting at. Again, people are using it as a therapist, and in some cases, it's really, really good. People use it as a legal assistant. I mean, I'm telling you,
that's one of the industries.
It's an amazing, incredible resource because it has so much knowledge. It's trained on stuff up to 2023 or something like that, right?
But how are we going to trust it? Is what you're asking.
Bingo. And so what I'm getting at is this, right? So there's emerging technologies, and there's solutions to these things that are happening. Again, this is all brand new. The Google 808 protocol was just announced, okay? So we're moving super duper fast, but the technologies are evolving as rapidly as the adoption of the technologies, basically. And so what we've got now is a thing called a RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation System. And that basically means that the AI is only allowed to use information in a very specific knowledge base. It's not allowed to browse the web. It's not allowed to answer questions outside of context, things like that. So I built, custom AI agents and things like that, and have blended system prompts and the data store and other things like that, to specific vector matching and real technical stuff, to build in sort of these guardrails like you're talking about, because the last thing you want is an agent out there giving someone pricing information that's not accurate.
Well, to get at the trust thing, let me stop you there. If you're a person who has not used AI in your personal life, or if you're a small business owner who says, I don't know, that's not going to help me. I don't get it, right? Yeah. And how can I trust it?
Bingo.
Well, like a person-to-person relationship is, over time, you'll trust it because you'll see the output, whatever, right? Yep. But over time, with AI, means a tiny bit of time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
exactly.
I had to go months in this relationship to trust you.
Within quick.
A couple of weeks, if you're using it every day, the stuff I use at work, some of it I trust to a great degree over just a 2-week period of time, right?
Right on.
But then the other way to get at trust is what you're talking about. And in my work, that's one of the reasons I trust it. I limit where it can go.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You need to go to this part of my company's infrastructure. Here are some documents, but no other ones. These are the ones I'm leading you to. And then in the beginning, when I started using it, I would run the AI to generate whatever I wanted to generate. And then I would immediately run it 2 or 3 times to see the variance, right?
Yep.
And it varies.
Sure.
But it doesn't vary by much. So the guardrails is an important part of trusting it, especially for a small business who's going to try to use it.
Yeah. So, and these things are evolving so quickly. I think it's important for, folks that are not as technical to sort of understand these concepts, right? Everyone thinks AI. No, there's a lot of different types of AI, lots of flavors of AI.
And we've been using AI for years in business.
Yeah, and the thing loves to make things up.
But people are enamored of this because it's so easily accessible.
Indeed.
The large language model itself is an interesting application of AI. AI and is helpful to all kinds of people. But yes, AI has been around for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. Folks are becoming a lot more comfortable interfacing with an artificial intelligent counterpart. They're using these systems every day, all the time, so they're getting used to it, right? They're getting comfortable with having those conversations. Now, that's on the people side. That's the like I'd say, the buy side. Let's talk about the sell side, businesses, right? So this is kind of the last question, kind of culminating all of these ideas. So small business owner, I own a home services company or I own a law firm or something like that. And I'm really trying to understand AI. And there's all of these things, man. It's going so fast, but I don't have time to keep up. I'm running my business and I'm doing what I do, right? So, what are the few things that you would tell me as a small business owner, right? Number one, to keep me from freaking out and being totally, a deer in the headlights as it relates to all of this stuff. And then what would be a little bit of advice on ways that I could start to think about using AI in my business?
Well, you need to flip the switch, right? So we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, fear of losing my job or losing my position at my own company or losing my business.
Losing my company.
Or losing your company. So you have to flip the switch there, and you think of AI as an accelerator. That's really what it is.
Yep.
Do I accelerate my ability to be found by potential customers? Yes, there's a way to do that, right? And you and I have been talking about that. Mm-hmm. But can I accelerate the different processes and tasks in my business that gets me, paid?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the switch you flip. I don't want to start here at whatever this task is. I want to start here. Mm-hmm. So AI can get me 50, 60, 70, 80% of the way there. Mm-hmm. And then because I'm starting here, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm going to not be fearful. I'm going to be creative.
Yeah.
Because I'm not starting down here every time. I'm starting up here. And now I can take my business to a different level. I can take my leadership of the business to a different level. So you have to think of AI no matter what you're doing. If you're an employee or if you're a business owner, it's an accelerator. Mm-hmm. And look at every aspect of your business from finding business to transacting business to actually delivering the service or product. And how AI can accelerate it, not replace you.
Yeah.
Right?
I think a lot of folks, though, are overwhelmed because go build a custom AI agent and all this stuff, right? Well, folks that aren't in that industry and that technical don't really understand any of this
They don't have to, right? They come to you.
Yeah, they do.
They come to Bob. He understands that. You just have to be prepared to define exactly what you want it to do.
Yeah.
People like Bob can tell you what it can do, and he can tell you the certain things you need it to do, especially in the new world of being found, right, by other machines.
Indeed.
So your business has to be found by machines in the future. That's the number one thing you need to understand about AI and not have to understand how to build it. Mm-hmm. People like Bob can build that. But then beyond that, how it, again, accelerates all the different aspects of whatever you do, right? Law firm or plumber or whatever. Mm-hmm. Does that answer the question, kind of?
Yeah. So I think really what we're saying is, hey, if you haven't been messing with ChatGPT or Gemini or any of it, just start using it. Become familiar with how it works and how it thinks and how it operates. And ask it, how can you help me become more efficient in my business? My business is this. And start to learn how it works and to not fear it, right?
Well, I think they have to listen to the exact words you just said, right? Because a few seconds ago, I think what we're saying is just go start using it.
Yeah.
That's not good. Well, but we gotta do more, right?
Yeah.
Because the average person out there is going to use it, and we already said this. They're going to use it as a search engine. Right. Don't do that. Ask it questions.
Yes.
It wants to answer questions.
It loves to answer questions.
That's what it's all about.
Sometimes it gets a little lazy, and you got to ask it a couple times, but it is great at that.
Well, okay. So then let's say this: go out and use it, but use it as a question answerer. Right?
Yep.
It's a very curious thing.
Great.
And again, listen to how we're talking about software code.
Indeed.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But it does like to answer questions.
Yep.
So there is a skill as a non-AI user, as a small business person, whatever, there is a skill that you have to probably start getting good at. Prompting it,
Indeed.
asking the question.
Indeed.
How do you do that? Ask it a question. that's a crappy answer. Then iterate. Treat it as it is a person. A few minutes ago, I talked about how my AI agent did not present the information in the middle of the form as a table.
Right.
And I spoke to it like I would be speaking to a junior employee. Like, hey, let's try this again.
Yeah.
Please, display this as previously instructed. That's exactly what I typed. So that's the other piece of advice. Be conversational. It's built on that.
Yes.
Right? The way the algorithms and the probabilities are working in these things is predicting what can be said from what you said.
Right.
Just at a very rapid rate, in a simplistic way of thinking about it. So try it, but not as a search engine. Try it as an
answer engine.
An answer engine, to
Yeah.
get back to your original comment.
Cool. One little pro tip I like to share with folks is ask it to optimize the prompt you intend to give it. So say, hey, as a prompt engineer, analyze and optimize this prompt I'm about to give you and ask any questions. And then you type in the prompt that you think is awesome, and then it will actually give you the awesome version of the prompt.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. It's like, well, I really was looking for this kind of output. How could I have asked this question better?
Exactly.
If you say that, you don't even have to use the word prompt. I mean, so be conversational. Definitely be conversational. Learn that we call it in tech, iterate, right? You're going to iterate your prompt. You're going to say something, then you're going to add to it, then you're going to ask it. Real technical thing. I built a prompting scenario for the team. In software development, we use something called user stories, and then we have, do we accept that? It's acceptance criteria, right? You don't have to understand that, guys. But it generated acceptance criteria in a very specific format that I gave it. I'm not a tech person, although I might sound like one. One of the tech people
You do play one on TV.
I do play one on TV. One of the tech people on the team, and the breakout little team that we were using to play with this stuff and exercise our abilities, asked it exactly what Bob said. Could you develop 5 more acceptance criteria based on your last response?
Yeah.
Right? So then it says, oh,
sure.
Here's the prompt. I did this. How could I do better? So it really is, and to get at Microsoft's product Copilot, the reason it was named Copilot is they viewed it from the inception of the idea of Copilot, that it is a person sitting next to you, piloting you through, guiding you through your workday, your business, your whatever questions you have. That's why that term came up. So treat it as that, it is a little weird and scary that you're thinking of software as a person. It isn't, but that's how to interact with it.
Yep. That's awesome. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice. All right, cool, man. Well, I think that's all the time we've got today. Thanks a lot to Mr. Steve Chavez.
Good to see you again.
OG of all things tech and awesome. Yeah, guitar player extraordinary. We got to get together and jam.
Get together and jam.
Yeah. All right, everybody, thanks again for joining us for this episode of Evolving the Web. We'll see you next time.